Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everybody? It's Yoshin195 coming at you with another old school Black Ops 6 gaming commentary. And in today's episode, should I be a consultant? Which is a very specific, but I'm going to go even more specific. Should you be an engineering consultant working in some giant corporation, particularly in something that may handle managing assets? And I want to go into this because if you've been following the channel, I've been a bit of a corporate bro during my life because of this job, which is like someone that just goes to some corporation, sits in a nice cushy office and just taps away the keys, clicks the mouses, and does kind of the bare minimum or just work that isn't very inspiring. And for me, I want to talk about this experience being like a glorified Excel spreadsheet master, which I think sometimes is often the case when people go into engineering, because I've seen it with my dad, who's a mechanical engineer, and I've seen it with other people around my office in my team. But it just feels like more times than not, going into engineering consulting, and I don't know if it was maybe my integrity management and making sure assets are okay, just was so much data entry and collation. And it's like an important but boring task. Like for those that have no clue what I'm talking about, I was kind of like tasked with basically helping other companies with their assets, which they had spreadsheets on, so that we could put them into a software that would then kind of be able, they look up the asset and they can see everything about the information about this asset, the report histories and all this, whatever. But to do so, it's just like I had to put the assets, their spreadsheets and their reports into our master spreadsheet that then we would import into the software. Sounds funny, like I'm making a spreadsheet from another spreadsheet, but the ultimate goal was the software, which, look, it's cool that the software exists. It's a freaking so much more better way than just running things off a spreadsheet. But man, I was like, I should have done way more Excel at university. I pivot tables and VLOOKUP functions, and man, why can't I build macros? This would help me way more than what I was doing at university, which is like theoretical equations and all this stuff. And I guess also the scary thing is, like, I was like looking at my life for the future in the sense, am I just going to be doing this forever? And then I remember like a Christmas party, my manager was like, hey, good news. Like, looks like we'll be doing a lot more of this kind of work. We got, extended budget and extended timelines with the client. They're really happy with us to keep doing this work. And I was like, they're really happy with us? I'm not happy with this. He thought of it like he's just thinking like monetary, like, guess what, we got work to do, we got to get money in the future. And I was like, that's cool. I just thought, there's no way I'm doing this for the next 6 months. So I just left after 4 months, found a new job, and kind of completely switched my careers. I went back to do like a teacher aide, and I'll do a whole video on that. But I just was like, geez, there's this risk of like stagnating growth that can occur. And like, you just become like this person, like the data entry guy. And I also remember talking about this to the other guy. There's another graduate. He was like, hey, did they tell you like how long, like what's the progression for graduates, in the sense like when is the next kind of milestone, and when do you kind of leave the graduate program? And I was like, dude, why are you asking me? Like, you've been here longer. Like, he'd been there like, I think 1.5 years or 2 years. I just started, and I was like, you're telling me that you don't know? This was like horrifying to me. I was like, surely you have like some sort of don't you have a Gantt chart, like a project timeline on your own freaking career? Like, by this year you should have done this and that, and then we'll transition you to another state, another position, like we'll promote you. Like, to him it just sounded like he was going to be stuck in that graduate position forever. And I was horrified. And I was like, look, I don't know if that's just him in his case, but I was like, man, that's poor management. And I'm not having that. Like, I'm not doing, that's not for me. I'm not going to be that guy in a year and a half. And I talked to another colleague of mine who was also senior. He was like a co-boss. And I was like, man, like, how long have you guys were working with these clients? And he said, like, for the last 2 years or so. Or he'd been working with another client, but doing pretty much the same thing. And I was like, dude, you've been doing this data entry spreadsheets for like the last 2 years. He's like, yep, yeah. Like, and he kind of acknowledged that it was boring and not the most exciting, but he looked like he was numb. Like he was conditioned. Like, he had accepted his fate. And I was like, I'm not accepting my fate. That isn't, I don't know if there's like, I can do better things out there, like, damn it, in that sense of arrogance, but I just thought there has to be something better out there for me. There's a better use of my life force, that I'm not just being stuck in that. And I think corporate world can sometimes, the final caveat is that it can be a mismatch to your abilities and your strengths, or what you expected from uni, because like at uni, you're tasked with like a lot of like academic problem solving and curiosity and research level of thinking of why this is the case, and fundamentals and theoretical equations and principles. There's a bit of creativity and really putting your mind to trying to problem solve a really difficult question. And then you come to that, at least for me, come to that corporate world. No, just do the job. I'm not paying you to learn. I'm paying you to do these spreadsheets. We need to catalog them. We need to get this work done. And like, I'm sure there's other positions out there that do have that problem solving, but maybe that comes later on, and I couldn't nut it out for like that year or 3 years of the graduate program. But I was just like, I can't do this forever. I can't do this for the next year. I can't do this for the next week. And there's definitely a mismatch, I felt, with my abilities from what I learned at university to what I was doing there at that job. And so I'm like, look, if you're going to do consulting, be wary that you may be potentially tasked with some very low level groundwork, super low autonomy, or other like high autonomy, just you do the work and we'll leave you alone. And it's boring, it's grinding, we don't need much of your input. And maybe you might see yourself in front of a computer looking right now at all these spreadsheets and just thinking, where is my life going? Or what's happened to my life? I'm 30 and I'm a glorified spreadsheet master. So I'm going to keep this video nice and short. Maybe I'll do more stories from my consulting time, and there's a place for consulting and there's a lot of negatives of it, and I can talk about that in the future. But for now, enjoy this 6th place finish, which is very mediocre, just fitting for the time in consulting that I had. That's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.